Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. I'm Jim. I'm here with my brother Steve, and it's March 9th, 2020.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's beautiful in the Northeast here, almost 70 degrees.
I'm starting to think winter is going to come and go. And
Yep,
if it does, it'll be the least amount of snowfall, I believe, in the history of this area.
I know. I saw this thing on 60 Minutes about this um, ice skating marathon, it's like 160 miles in supposed to be in Amsterdam or in the Netherlands. And it hasn't been cold enough for 25 years for this thing. They had to move it to Austria.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And I can't even begin to pronounce the name of it, but it's a pretty big deal in the Netherlands.
my point is, I'm not complaining about the winter or the mild winter.
Why would you? Why would you?
Not a winter guy.
So listen, now that it's getting close to spring, and you're absolutely right, the weather starts turning. So we're going to start with Major League Baseball, and our segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Haverstraw, New York. So listen, Major League Baseball is on the horizon, and we're kind of Yankee fans, so let's talk about what the state of the Yankees are. These injuries, we know about Stanton. Judge could be longer than we initially thought.
And, of course, today, news that,
Sanchez,
yeah, Gary has a little back stiffness, which
oh, that's great.
could be nothing or
It could be a
it
season
could be
ending.
not so good.
Oh,
So I was actually talking to a friend of mine, Michael, and he's been adamant. I mentioned he called the fan a couple times during the week, and his point is this is a full-time job for these guys. Meaning, I get it's a long season and you need to relax. I understand all that, but do these guys like check in every week or something with medicals or
but don't they?
something with technology just to, I'm not saying this is the cure be all end all, but, isn't it frustrating when these guys are off all season? They show up for spring training and, by 3 o'clock on the third day of practice, ow!
They're out for the season.
Ow!
Yeah, I know.
You know what? This was bothering me a little bit back around Christmas time, you know?
But you got to think it's the Yankees. I mean, they have a medical staff full time monitoring these guys, and again, you're absolutely right, Steve. I don't understand why this keeps happening to
And
these
again, it
guys.
was, like you could refer to the Mets a couple of years ago. It was, the Keystone Cops with, the medical staff and the Mets, and then it became a running joke, not to Met fans, but kind of a running joke around the league. And the Mets actually had a clean house on the medical staff. So I don't know. I mean, you can bring up Aaron Boone, 2000 after the 2003 season. I'm not saying don't play basketball, this, that, or the other thing. Breaks his ankle, and his career's basically over right after that.
Right, right.
But my point is, and I'm not saying about, Madison Bumgarner. You know what he does in the off season?
Yeah, I think he's a bull rider or something, right?
Or he's like the rodeo clown guy. That, gets the horses and
Oh, I think he does roping, actually.
something like
yeah.
that. But my point is, that's not exactly, playing golf.
And I'm sure it's specifically mentioned in his contract to stay away from the Red Bull
But the point is,
PBR.
he uses his wife's maiden name, things like that, in the off season.
Right.
But my point about Sanchez is, the Yankees are having this rash, starting with Severino, and they're the odds-on favorite. But if your horses are all in the stable, I don't know what to say.
Well, listen, I agree
It's
with you.
concerning, is my point.
Well, I think the Stanton thing, we know that this guy's just kind of breaking down. Judge, there's a couple of rules of, thought that people are saying, he works out. He wants to be this hulking monster, and maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing in Major League Baseball. It's a long season, 162 games. I mean,
Nobody's saying these guys are not coming in shape. But I guess the question is, are they coming in baseball shape? Is it? Then again, that's what's unique about baseball. you know, Mickey Mantle and you know, all these guys back in the day. These guys wouldn't do anything in the off season, drink their faces off,
Right.
right? And get in a car and drive from their day job down to Florida.
And how many games
And
did
still
Babe
hit-
Ruth miss?
And still hit 350 and, you know, 58 homers and 138 RBIs.
And Lou Gehrig had to work as an insurance salesman in the off season to
Right.
make money, so
Right.
it wasn't like he was just working out all the time. He was
But my point is, Lou Gehrig, we know, played a hell of a lot of consecutive games.
Yeah.
We know Mantle played a ton of games regarding his injuries and everything aside, you know, and the list is endless.
You're
you know?
right.
So that's what's unique about baseball. So we wanted to throw that out there. If you have any opinion about that, love to hear your feedback.
Yep.
sportswithmanoamano@gmail.com.
But you're right. It's a problem. These injuries. I mean, they haven't even started playing baseball yet, and they're already on the.
Exactly.
It's crazy, you know. And before we move off of baseball, Steve and I keep talking about the Houston Astros and some of the payback that's going to start happening and so forth. You know, as the players, you know, take matters into their own hands and so forth. It's kind of interesting. I think, like I said, we haven't seen any kind of brawls in spring training, but you know, at some point the Astros are going to say, enough is enough, and there's going to be a brawl in a spring training game. I mean, that's what we're coming to?
I wouldn't be surprised. Well, we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
And again, to reiterate our point, I mean, this is going to be a year-long thing.
It is.
They're going to get taunted. There'll be brawls. They're going to get thrown at, and on and on.
Ugh.
You know, Houston doesn't come to Yankee Stadium until late in the season.
Right.
So, you know.
But
You know,
listen,
the Yankee fans are going to be jazzed for that.
oh, right, because, you know, they're the ones that kind of feel like they got shafted here, you know. But, you know, the entire league got shafted, I guess. Like I said, it was hard for me to believe somebody was wearing a wire. I could buy the garbage can drum beat and so forth, but the wire, I can't. I
We
just
talked
can't.
about it.
I can't.
I'm not really a believer in conspiracy theory normally.
But if
However-
Altuve hits 260 this year when he hits 340 every other year, then maybe there's something to it.
There
But
will be.
until we get to that point, but like I said, we're only a couple weeks away from opening day, and it's a long season. But Yanks have some early season injuries already, and I don't think you can possibly expect them to take the beating on the injury list that they did last year and have all these guys come in and have career years and not miss a beat and
Yeah,
still
right.
win 100 games.
I would say the other notable injury is Chris Sale in Boston. You know, he's hurt for a while, but you know, I think he avoided Tommy John, but
Yeah.
they're paying him a ton of money, and he's going to be sidelined for a while. Too,
Yeah, he
so,
is. He is.
But
All right, well, listen, we're going to stick with baseball going forward, you know, very closely because there's lots of stuff to talk about there. And like I said, 2-3 weeks away, and we're ready to play ball.
oh, here's the other baseball note of note. They just announced today they're not going to let the media come in the clubhouses due to this coronavirus.
Well, we could touch on this in a couple of sports because you're
My
right.
point is, you think the players are like, really? Cool.
Exactly. You know,
Nobody's going in that clubhouse. That's the point.
And you know what? I'm glad that you mentioned that little thing, Steve, because I watched this thing on ESPN yesterday, and we told you about we like these shows. This was 9 for 9. I don't even know what that means. However, it was called Branded was the name of the series, and it was about women sports writers getting into the locker room and so forth, and you know.
Yeah.
My feelings are, you know, why don't you just have a separate room, let the guys go into the locker room, come out into a separate room. I just think it's kind of crazy that, you know, this is a locker room. You know, the guys just play baseball, they're coming out of the shower. And the point of
There
this
have
thing
been
was,
a couple Johnson incidents,
of course there have been. Of course there have
some
been.
intentional and some accidentally, but
Yeah, they referenced one in particular was Dave Kingman who poured a bucket of water on some.
Right.
And we're not saying it was the right thing, but I think there's a time and a place. And I had a conversation with somebody. Should men be allowed in women's locker rooms?
Right.
Of course not. Right? Of course not.
Right.
But it was a very interesting segment on sports on this, and it was pretty good. It was actually pretty good.
Is it sexism? I mean, they're doing a job. Does gender have to have, I guess, carry that much weight? But,
I just think that's
we're ex-athletes, being we know the sanctity of the locker room, being, our experiences, that locker room is sacred to your teammates. That's where,
that's right.
that's where you relax, you throw up before a game, you do whatever, right?
Yeah, you throw
what
up after
happens
the
in
game.
the locker room stays in the locker room for the most part.
Yep.
So it's an interesting discussion.
It is, and they were talking about one of the last holdouts of a team allowing people in was Dick Williams and the San Diego Padres.
I can see that.
and
He's a hard old school guy.
Right, and this was when Steve Garvey had left the Dodgers and
So
went.
84 Padres most likely because they made the World Series against
Right.
the Tigers.
They were pretty good.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that Steve Garvey stuck up for these guys, for the
The
women.
ladies, yeah.
I mean, but it was a very interesting thing. It's called Branded, something worth watch. 9 for 9. But I love those ESPN, Showtime, HBO docs.
Sure, I love
they're,
that.
they're awesome.
Our Real Sports HBO stuff, love that.
They're awesome. So listen, let's move on to our NFL segment because this hits home to you. Your Dallas Cowboys made an offer to your quarterback.
They started negotiations. The franchise deadline is coming up, the franchise tag, so to speak. So it makes sense that the Cowboys would try and negotiate a long-term deal with Dak.
Right.
Dak's agent met with Jerry, and initial reports are $33 million, 100 guaranteed as a starting point. We shall see.
And they're balking about this.
well,
I mean,
it's negotiation.
understood.
But they're talking. Does it mean they're going to come to a agreement? I would hope so. I mean, 33 million's no joke. I mean, Russell Wilson, I think, is at 35.
And I'm glad that's the watermark as far as I'm concerned. But Russell Wilson has shown what kind of player he is. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. He's earned it. At this point, listen, I like Dak Prescott. He's good. But is he?
He's a top 10 quarterback, meaning 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So if the market's 35, 33 is not out of the realm.
I don't know. I think it's a little too soon for. He's good,
Or
but he
they
hasn't.
franchise him, right? And if they do that, again, we talked about Kirk Cousins getting tagged a couple times by Washington.
Yeah.
And, we shall see.
I just don't think he's worth that kind of money right now. And
But that's the market.
Is it the market for
It
the
is.
number 9 or 10
Yeah.
best quarterback in the league?
Yeah.
Oh, where are these numbers coming from? I mean, I don't know.
10 through 15, 15 through 20, they're probably making 21 million or something.
I
Back
guess. Okay.
up. Yeah.
I'd give Prescott 21 million. That I could say that's
And
the
this
market
is the Dallas
for.
Cowboys. It's not like, they're not printing money, right?
They do have money.
They are the most valued franchise in all of sports.
That's right.
So, I say yes, sign them.
I say
Go from there.
no way. Not at that rate.
So what do? Break down and find somebody else?
Well, there's a guy from New England who seems to be entering free agency. Can you imagine that? Doesn't that sound like something
No,
Jerry
no.
Jones would possibly even make an offer just to get in the news?
No, maybe make an offer. It's not going to be viable. Although, back to your point, is he going to leave? I still say he's set. He stays.
I do too,
But I think the more I'm hearing, Tennessee it's a viable landing spot. It really is, with a lot of expatriate personnel.
I know the
front
Vrabel
off-
connection.
Yeah, but front office guys and Vrabel. And Brady's going to pick a team that is close to winning,
Exactly.
and that factors in too.
Right, and that means it's not San Diego and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'd say out of all of those teams, Tennessee is probably closer than. But you know what, Steve? Maybe this is really deeper than we thought. Because I thought there was no chance in hell he was going to leave New England. But maybe this rift, or if there is indeed a rift with
Who says there's a
Belichick,
rift?
why else would he go? Is money? Don't you think Robert Kraft would give the highest offer?
We talked about it.
I
I
know,
think
but-
it's the money. Obviously, he's going to give him 5 cents more than anybody else. But you know what? We'll give credit to the guy you worked with or the discussion that you had. It's just viable that maybe Brady wants to win one
Without Belichick.
without Belichick. It could be that simple, and he's still going to make bank.
It seems.
I still think he goes back though. That's but there's some influential people saying they'd be surprised if he goes back now.
Wow, I'm just blown away by even the possibility of him leaving. His legacy would be so cemented, and I mean, as great as he's done in New England, the fans they'll hold a grudge. They'll hold a grudge. But of course, when he comes back and they raise his jersey to the rafters, of course, all will be
He's
forgotten.
the greatest New England Patriot, bar none, and
I agree.
the greatest quarterback to a lot of people.
But I'm starting to think
Bar
too, going, this was an unspeakable possibility, and now I'm starting to think it's possible. It's possible.
And then the other news in the NFL is, they're maybe on the verge of a 10-year labor peace agreement. The 17th extra game type of thing. And it's negotiated back and forth, with health care and all this other stuff for younger players. Word on the street is, I think the deal gets done, and that's good for business.
But I'm glad that you touched on this, because I'm hearing, that it's probably going to pass, but then you get guys like Rodgers and Wilson coming out saying, I don't support this.
Okay?
So where is the breakdown? Where is the communication between the players and the union that's representing them? I mean, it seems disjointed to me.
Well, I'm not surprised by that.
I mean, if you're a young player in the league and Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson say this doesn't seem like this is good for the long term, do you need to even do any more research? I mean, they've done the research. These are career guys in the NFL, and
Yeah, but I think a deal gets done, and if there's some stalling points right now or sources of contention, that they sit down again.
but you don't think the ballots are going to go out and they're all going to sign up and say yes and make this happen?
I'm sure it's a majority vote. I think
Wow.
that's why they got the player reps. The player reps go to the meetings. They meet with the the NFL's personnel. They hammer out a deal. The player rep comes back, talks to his players, say, okay.
Yeah.
Some player reps are going to be like, I'm all on board. I think we should sign up. And then you'll have, to your point, Aaron Rodgers or Wilson saying, you know what? I don't think we should sign off on this. And then they go back and work it out, and that's it. But the fact that it's a 10-year labor peace, I mean, the NFL is booming beyond words anyway.
Yeah, they are.
And if they can
They
get
are.
this in the back pocket, labor peace for 10 years, it's win-win for everybody.
All right,
I think the player revenue sharing has gone up, will go up.
Oh,
whatever.
astronomically! They're getting a lion's share
A
of it.
percentage, but a higher percentage.
Well, they weren't getting a fraction of the TV rights and all that in CBA's, from yesteryear. I mean, I know that's the big thing now, but I just wonder why it seems to me that the players themselves aren't 100% aligned. And I know the owners would love to just slip this through and avoid any risk of shutdowns and strikes and so
Absolutely,
forth.
that's so. I say it's going to get done. I say it gets done pretty soon as well,
All right.
and we go from there.
Okay.
But so they'll play 17 games. That means like every Thursday night, there'll be a game, and probably 3 on the standard Sunday, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock.
You think the 17 game schedule is a done deal? I mean,
Yeah.
do you?
I mean, do they want the players? No.
No,
I mean,
but
again, then you have the injury discussion.
Yep.
However, the NFL wants this for revenue purposes, and if they sign off the players, then they get pieces of the pie in other ways, shapes, or forms.
I think that's going to be a big stumbling block for the players to accept a 17 game schedule. And you're right. It's the risk they run playing an extra game and so forth. I think that's going to be a stumbling block.
But even back in the day, I mean, I think
When they
you
went
remember,
from 14 to
well, they used to
16?
make 6 preseason games, for Christ's sakes. Even though it was a 14-game schedule, but they played 6 preseason games, right?
Right, but now they play 4, but these guys don't even play in the
They don't even
preseason.
play,
It's
exactly.
it's a
for
it's
your
a,
XFL
it's an
tryout
audition.
guys.
It's an audition.
Yeah.
But listen, this is going to come up, and I'm just not so sure it's a slam dunk that it's going to pass. I think there's going to be some. When you got guys like Rodgers saying hold it, hold it, hold it, then it's going to.
Here's my other point about the past NFL negotiations. Scabs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Randy White, one of my all-time idols, like the last strike or something, whatever, 87 or something. Randy is in, I don't know, his 12th year or something at this point.
Right.
Right? This is Randy White.
Yep.
He wasn't missing his paycheck. He didn't give a shit what anybody thought, and he showed up for work.
Well, Lawrence
But
Taylor, Joe Montana all did the
po-
same
That's
thing.
my
you know.
point, right? I don't see a full labor stoppage, especially with these XFL guys. The pool is so great of people wanting to put a uniform on.
Yeah,
So business will go on,
It will.
obviously.
you're right.
So I just wanted to make that note that past NFL, the players have, the scam stuff.
I know. It was ugly, man.
And especially with today's dough.
I know.
So if you're making $26 million, right?
Yeah, you're leaving a paycheck and a half.
Yeah, your honey's not going to be very happy about
No.
that when she's not going to
No,
whatever,
you're right.
Burberry. So
I think it's pronounced Burberry.
Burberry.
All right, listen. So let's move on and touch base on the NBA because there was a couple of interesting. I guess I don't know if it's a statement that came out, and this is sponsored by Lynch Motors of Manchester, Connecticut, loyal sponsor of the show. So Steve and I kind of talked about this coronavirus and the impact, and it's having a major impact in sports all over the place with
Having
empty
a major
arenas.
impact on the whole world economy.
Right, but I'm in particular referring to the NBA and the NBA saying, we may have to play in front of empty arenas, and LeBron James said, if that's the case, I ain't playing. And I said to me, how dare you? I mean, how could you possibly take that stance? I mean, what difference to you does it make? And he says, well, because I play for the fans. No, you don't. You play for LeBron James. And,
LeBron Incorporated.
exactly. I mean, you're basically the commissioner of this league, and you're going to tell all these other kids, because the arena's empty, because there's potential health scare, that you're not going to play. You know how many people are going to follow suit because of this? And it's going to be because it is LeBron James. And Steve, I brought it up 1,000 times. I think the guy is a great basketball player. He's got the rings and hardware to prove it. But, oh, come on. I mean, if that's what you have to do to ensure the safety.
Where do you get the ego?
Exactly, George Costanza. I mean, but people are going to follow his lead, and I think that's a terrible, terrible precedent to set. Even though I don't think the coronavirus is this pandemic that people are saying. Well, I don't know for sure. However, I say more people die of the flu than the coronavirus. Fact, fact, fact. But for LeBron James to come out and say, I'm not doing this, if that stadium is empty, is an outrage. It's an outrage.
I take it with a grain of salt. I just think it's a PR thing for LeBron, his brand cementing. I'm about the fans.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
I'm
so
not buying
phony to me.
Yeah.
It's so phony to me. It drives me crazy.
Total phone.
I mean, this is doing it. Players in different sports are not signing autographs and so forth. You have to take some caution here. But to make that statement in such a crazy time with this virus thing that's going around, to me, I think really hurts his reputation in my eyes. It really does.
The games will go on.
They will go on, but let's stick with the NBA real quick, because Steve and I just talked about this beforehand, and we both thought this guy was doing a great job in Brooklyn, Kenny Atkinson. And then Steve brought it to my attention. He goes, well, this was a power play. This was Kevin Durant, who's not even playing, Kyrie Irving, who doesn't want to
Who's
play,
out for the year, quote unquote.
and Kenny Atkinson's
And
the fall guy.
DeAndre Jordan too is in the mix here.
And then Steve said immediately, goes, okay, well, now the Knicks have their head coach. And I said, that sounds great. I would love for that to have happened.
Yeah, so this is I think it was Saturday. I remember I was driving, listening to the radio. And it's like, yeah, press conference. Kenny Atkinson's going to address the media after being released as the Nets head coach.
Released?
I'm like, what? He start the coronavirus or something, right? I go, you got to be kidding me. Of all the coaches in the tri-state area right now, I would assume because Durant was out, Irving and the power play, or to get them in, Kenny was solidified.
Right, well, they were a
Right.
mediocre team without before they signed these guys,
But
but he
there's
did a great job coaching.
However, there's a new owner, Prokhorov, sold, the majority interest for a ton of dough. But Sean Marks is the GM, who's done a really good job, by
Yes,
the way.
he has.
And Kenny Atkinson was his guy. So you had a new owner coming in who, this is my theory, this is my JFK one bullet, grassy knoll theory,
Right.
is the owner, more of an ego, wants to be front and center. He's got KD and Kyrie and DeAndre saying, we know like Kenny. Kenny, bring us to promised land. We win championships, right?
I know.
Right, hear me out. And then the owner is saying, okay, if that's what you boys want, let's do it now. And Kenny Atkinson gets called in and says, blah, blah, blah. So now he's available.
Yep.
My first thought is because Mike Miller, the Knicks, is interim,
Yep.
that Kenny Atkinson was a former Knick assistant coach for a while, New York guy, and he's a good coach. So
I agree.
put two and two together, I'm like, that could be good fortune for the Knicks.
Yeah, that was kind of a shocker to me.
But,
Yeah.
he's done a good job, and it doesn't mean other teams are not going to win.
Oh, and he's going to land on his feet. There's no
Oh, yeah.
question about it. But I
Absolutely.
mean, you just start to wonder what have you created in Brooklyn with this Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving thing that you could possibly go regress from where you were on the precipice of success. And you're right. Listen, we knew Durant was going to be out, but did we really think Irving was going to be out for the year? Basically out for the year.
You know what? As good of a ball player Kyrie Irving is, and I hear him interviewed, I somewhat buy into great guy, but I tell you what, man, he is,
He's blew up his bridge in Boston, and I mean,
Cleveland before, right? He is a power, you know what I mean?
he's changed since he came into the league. I mean,
So
he was.
my thought is, Kyrie talks to KD and they decide who they want as coach.
Yeah.
My guess is Tyronn Lue is probably still, looking for a job from Cleveland. That's my guess.
You know what?
Championship winning coach in Cleveland.
Oh, cut it out, championship winning. I know he was, but he was the interim coach at the time anyway.
Right.
But
You know what kind of ratings we're going to get if I'm right on this one?
you know what? I'm going to give you $5 if you are right on this one. There's no way Tyronn Lue's getting a head coaching job in the NBA.
You know.
No way.
Yeah.
No possible way.
Well, they're not going to lure 99-year-old Don Nelson out of retirement in Hawaii
No.
who smokes weed 24 hours
Yeah,
a day.
yeah, he's pro CBD
Plays
or
poker
whatever.
with Willie Nelson.
He does,
3 days
yeah.
a week, right?
I'd love to. I don't play cards. I'd love to sit at that table though.
So my point being is, you know,
All right. Well, that was kind of a surprise to me because I said everybody seems to like this Kenny Atkinson and so forth. But you're right. Something behind the scenes forced this to
I
happen.
think Kenny Atkins is a coach, you know, who doesn't take crap. This is my system, and it's simple as that. Well, we don't like your system, so, you know, Kenny can go to the owner, or KD and Kyrie go to the owner.
Yep.
Who's he listening to?
You're right.
That's it. It's
That's
as simple
crazy.
as that.
So listen, let's stick with basketball for another moment because it's college basketball. It's getting close to tournament time,
Right?
right? And Steve just brought up, one of it hasn't been much changes at the top 20 or whatever, top 10. Although Florida State, and Steve said it right off the bat, I don't recall ever Florida State having that kind of a presence in college basketball.
Number 4 ranking, perhaps back in the day.
And I mentioned I thought they were pretty formidable when Charlie Ward was the point guard and so forth, but not number 4 in the country. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
But what a wide open year anyway.
That's what we talked about. You know, you got Kansas at 1, Gonzaga, which has been a fixture, you know, last 15 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
Baylor and San Diego State. You know, Dayton is ranked 3rd, and you know the tournaments are going to start, the
Yeah.
conference tournaments, and we'll pick our Final Four.
The ones out west already
next week.
started at Mountain Valley Conference and so forth. Those, but these are 15, 16 type seeds that come. So, but I can't wait for this tournament to start. I mean, for such a wide open a year, right? No one's even mentioning North Carolina. No one's even mentioning Virginia. Nobody's even mentioning these teams that it was always this way, right? The top 10. You know?
Well, the defending champs are Virginia.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll also bring up Rutgers. You know, we were kind of skeptical. Maryland came into Rutgers, and Rutgers credit, wiped the floor with them.
They did.
And they've been great at home all year, only 1 loss. And I got to think they just punched their ticket, you know.
I guess.
If you're going to beat a top 10 team, even with 11 losses, then you get a first round win in your tournament. I got to think Rutgers will punch.
And how long has it been since Rutgers was formidable? I mean, what, 1976, right? When
Well,
they
got
made
to
the Final Four.
Absolutely.
Right? With Phil Sellers and Eddie Jordan and those guys. That was great back then. That was a great run they had. But who was in their way? The Hoosiers from Indiana, right?
The Hoosiers.
But I can't wait for this. I can't wait for this tournament to get underway and so forth. So,
Yep.
looking forward to it.
Yep. And we'll make our bracket picks and everything in about a week.
Yep, we will. So listen, let's just let's move on real quick to some hockey because there's some hockey news, and it was a real awesome performance by Nico Zibanejad from the Rangers, right?
Yeah.
5 goals, game winner in overtime.
Great.
Count on your
performance.
left hand how many times that's happened. Right?
Well, he tied, the Ranger record, 5 goals. Mark Pavlich, right? Miracle on Ice.
Olympian.
Mark.
Yep.
Unfortunately, Mr. Pavlich is having some mental health issues right now.
Okay.
And Don Murder Murdoch.
I know.
And what is he famous for? I mean, he came on the scene, had a great rookie season. Took to the New York nightlife and got busted for dealing coke and short career, but doesn't change him in the record book. But Zibanejad having 5 game winner,
Yeah.
you dream about that.
And listen, with the NHL, I still think it's wide open. A lot of the pundits say that Boston is the team to beat,
Well,
and they were the team to beat last year,
they're
and they got
formidable.
beat. They got beat. The Flyers are now hot, right? 10 in a row, 9-10 in a row, and it's wide open.
There's good teams.
And there's good players in this
Don't
league.
underestimate the Capitals.
No.
And on. Tampa Bay.
Yep.
The Dallas Stars, the Colorado Avalanche,
Yep.
and so on.
Yeah, just loving the hockey thing. I mean, again, it's still the longest season in sports. These guys are tougher, as tough as they get. And but this was a great game for the Rangers. I really do like. I think the blow for Kreider getting knocked out after his contract that could hurt him. But you know what? I'm not expecting them to go places. They may back into the playoffs, but
Yeah, but
I don't.
I think this is definitely Lundqvist's last year. I mean, he's bleeding the Rangers for every single nickel owed him. He doesn't really play. He's only had a handful of starts.
5.
Handful.
But he's going to want to go somewhere. He's going to take this buyout because he needs to get a Stanley Cup ring. Because even he knows referring to him as King Henrik is unacceptable.
Oh,
It's unacceptable.
And it's going to be in the off season because there's only 3 weeks left, so to speak.
And I'm not sure why Colorado is always the place where they think he's going to land. But
My point is, he's going to be bled dry. He's bleeding the Rangers dry. That's it. And
I guess because
the King era is over. Exit stage left. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great goalie. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But I always say, Mike Richter on Mount Rushmore.
you bet.
And now
Yep.
you have a debate between Eddie Jockerman and Lundqvist. Sure, does Lundqvist have more wins, all this other nonsense, but Ranger fan debate,
Yep.
Eddie Jockerman could literally be number 2,
I mean, even Eddie might have to be 3. He didn't win a cup either.
No, my point is Richter, and that's it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Right?
But listen, I think the thing that happened with the Rangers, when Lundqvist was at the top of his game a couple years ago when they signed him to that contract, and goalies are tough to come by, and they stepped in with Georgiev and Shesterkin. Now you got 2 guys, so now your fate is sealed here, right? But they got to get something for him because you're right. You can't just pay a guy that kind of money to start 5 games a year, and he's not part of the rebuilding process that David Quinn has in mind.
That's true.
That's my thought on it. But great, I like I said, it's just such a long season, so we're gonna get to the start of baseball and the NFL draft before the NHL playoffs even get underway. So
Right. So we typically do notable passings at the end of the show, but we're still on hockey. So I think we bring up Henri Richard
Richard
from
the Habs,
the Pocket Rocket.
right? And a lot of people who know hockey know the name. Certainly, they know the legacy. 11 Stanley Cups, which is even hard to even fathom. But
Tops Yogi.
right. Well, I thought that, right? That's Bill Russell. That's Yogi. That's that kind of layer. That's the
20
level.
years a Canadian.
Right.
You know what's interesting? He was 15 years younger than his older brother, Maurice the Rocket Richard.
The other way.
15 years younger.
Younger.
Yes.
All right. I thought
And
they were
3 inches shorter.
I thought they were kind of close in age. But
So, 1979 Hall of Famer, 20 years all career with the Canadians, 11 Stanley Cups.
So the Richards were known as the Rocket. Obviously, Maurice was the Rocket,
Yes.
and Henri was
The Pocket Rocket,
the Pocket Rocket.
which is women vibrators have been named after.
Oh, but we didn't need to. We didn't need to go there, but we did anyway. But no, he was certainly from an NHL perspective a legend,
Absolutely.
and no question about it. So it was worth mentioning that he passed away.
Yep.
So listen, we got a lot of stuff going on, and looking forward to next week's show. And what we got to talk about is let's see how things unfold with the Yankees. Let's see how things unfold with the collective bargaining agreement and free agency starts in the NHL. And listen, we're not too far away from the Masters at Augusta, and And I'm kind of liking this early season thing, which I didn't think I would, but I love the tournaments that they're playing before the Masters. I think it gives a lot of other people a shot, you know.
Right.
So we're going to talk about that in the next couple of weeks. Who our predictions for the Masters are. We usually give our three,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And I keep hanging in there saying Ricky Fowler, he's on the precipice. He's got to be due. It's got to be his year. And John Rahm and all these young guns. Golf is so awesome. Golf is so awesome. And there don't seem to be any coronavirus worries about golf, you know.
Give it time.
They're not going to be playing the Masters in front of an empty audience. I can tell you that, right?
Everybody will be wearing a mask, but they're playing.
But they're there. That's right. But listen, like Steve said, we'd love to hear you. We hear from you and send us an email and comment on YouTube. And Tony, I don't know where you've been, but we miss you. So come on back to our show.
Okay, Tony.
We told you we'll talk about NCAA women's college basketball as well.
You got it.
So listen, thanks for joining us, everybody, and stay safe, stay virus free, and we'll be talking
Won't
to you
be
guys
looking
next
any
week.
windows.
But listen, thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you next week.
You got it. Bye-bye.